Have you ever wondered what real power looks like? Not the loudest person in the room, but the one you can't look away from. Today, we're breaking down a blueprint for that exact kind of quiet power, a kind of undeniable intensity that commands a room without a single shout. Yeah, we're talking about the Pacino Rule.
So let's set the scene. It's 1972. Al Pacino is this struggling stage actor in New York, and he's just been viciously rejected by the studio for the role of Michael Corleone in The Godfather. I mean, they wanted a star, right? Someone with that classic Hollywood look. But the director, Francis Ford Coppola, he saw something else. He fought for Pacino. And once Pacino finally got the part, he was staring down an even bigger challenge. It wasn't just about playing Michael Corleone. It was about becoming him. The studio wanted big, explosive drama, but Pacino, he chose a totally different path. And that one choice would not only define his career, but completely change our idea of what power looks like on screen.
So how in the world did he pull it off? How did he turn that rejection into one of the most iconic performances of all time? Well, that's what we're going to unpack right now. We'll look at why he was such an unlikely choice, the intense struggle that forged his method. We'll define the Pacino Rule itself, break down his system for total command, look at his legacy, and maybe most importantly, figure out how you can use this blueprint in your own life. All right, so let's dive right into that one pivotal moment. This wasn't just a choice about a character. It was a choice that would create an entire philosophy of power and performance. And it was a massive risk that went against everything Hollywood believed in at the time. You have to imagine the pressure he was under. The studio's vision was simple. Give us the typical mobster. Loud, emotional, predictable, lots of yelling. But Pacino saw Michael Corleone completely differently. This wasn't just some gangster. He was a war hero, an outsider who gets dragged into a world he wanted nothing to do with. So Pacino's choice was to play the internal war. Instead of loud drama, he chose a quiet, smoldering intensity. Instead of showing every emotion on his sleeve, he contained that energy, letting it bubble right under the surface. And in place of predictable outbursts, he used strategic stillness. He made you lean in. He forced you to wonder, what is this guy thinking?
And that one single defiant decision to go quiet when the whole world expected him to be loud, that wasn't just an acting choice, no way. That was the birth of a philosophy. It was the very beginning of the Pacino Rule, the core belief that real power isn't screamed, it's contained. So where does a guy get the guts to defy a major studio like that? Well, that kind of confidence doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It was forged in years of real hardship and just relentless, systematic training.
Look, Pacino's early life was anything but a Hollywood story. At 17, he drops out of high school and finds himself basically broke. He's working all these odd jobs, a janitor, a mail clerk, a busboy, whatever it took to survive and pay for acting classes. This wasn't some hobby, this was a desperate pursuit. Then, in 1966, he gets his big break. He's accepted into the legendary Actors Studio, the absolute heart of method acting in America. And here he learned so much more than just acting. He learned a discipline, a system. He trained like an absolute machine, learning how to truly live inside the minds of his characters. So by the time he walks into that Godfather audition, he's not just some actor looking for a part. He's a highly trained technician of human emotion who'd been hardened by years of struggle. The studio rejecting him, that wasn't going to break him. Life had already made him bulletproof.
And this quote pretty much says it all. This is the core truth he took from the Actors Studio. It was never about pretending. It was about living. The job is to build and actually inhabit a character's complete internal reality, every single thought, memory, and contradiction. That dedication to internal truth is what powers the Pacino Rule. It's why his stillness feels so alive, so dangerous. Because you just know, even when he's doing nothing, there is a universe of things happening on the inside.
Okay, so that brings us to the core of it all. Let's really define this thing. What exactly is the Pacino Rule? Because it's way more than just quiet acting. It's a complete system for influence, and it's built on this incredible philosophy of contained force.
Here it is, plain and simple. The Pacino Rule is the systematic belief that real power is never loud. It's achieved by meticulously, almost obsessively building and controlling an internal psychological reality. Think about it. The most commanding person in any room is the one whose inner world is so strong, so detailed, and so controlled that it just radiates outward. It doesn't need an announcement. It's an intensity you feel before you even see it.
Now, this whole philosophy really stands on three key pillars. Pillar number one is the Observational Immersion Protocol. Before he even thinks about the internal world, Pacino carefully observes the external one. He studies how real people talk, how they walk, their smallest gestures. This anchors his performance in a truth we can all recognize, which makes the emotion feel completely real.
Pillar number 2 is the stillness as power mandate. Now, this one is a total game changer. Pacino uses silence and stillness as weapons. They're active tools to create psychological dominance. By holding back, by observing, he forces everyone else to show their cards. And this makes his eventual action, a tiny nod, a quiet word, a sudden move, carry an incredible amount of weight. The anticipation becomes way more powerful than any explosion. And the third pillar is the total commitment filter. This is all about discipline and making smart choices. Pacino became incredibly selective. He would ruthlessly turn down superficial roles because he needed characters that demanded total psychological and emotional immersion. He knew his method required depth. You can't build a complex internal reality for a shallow character. This filter protected his energy, and it meant that when he did commit, he could go all in. So let's just recap real quick. You've got the observational immersion to ground the work in truth. You've got stillness as power to command attention and build tension. And the total commitment filter to make sure every bit of energy is invested in work that actually matters. These 3 pillars together, that's a complete philosophy for creating contained, undeniable intensity. Okay, so a philosophy is great, but let's be honest. Without a system, it's just a cool idea. Pacino's real genius was turning his philosophy into repeatable, actionable routines that let him deliver that unique intensity again and again. His first system is all about character deconstruction. And this is a serious process. Step 1, he meticulously catalogs the character's entire personal history, often making up details that aren't even in the script. For Michael Corleone, maybe he imagines specific, traumatic things that happened in the war. Step 2, he maps out every single motivation, and, this is crucial, all of their contradictions, because real people are messy. Step 3 is the absolute key. He figures out the character's internal logic before he even learns the lines. He has to know why a character would say something before he decides how to say it. And all of that preparation means that when the emotional release finally comes in step 4, it's not chaos. It's executed with the precision of a surgeon because it's built on this deep logical foundation. Then you've got his second system, physical and vocal transformation. All that internal work has to show up on the outside, right? So first, he analyzes the character's internal state. Is he confident, broken, arrogant, scared? Then he systematically changes his own posture to reflect that state. Just think of that rigid, blind posture in Scent of a Woman. After that, he modifies his voice, the pitch, the rhythm, the tone, to match the character's psychology. And finally, his entire body becomes a direct tool to communicate that internal intensity. The transformation is absolutely total. So what's the end result of all this insane work? Well, it's a philosophy and a system that did way more than just create a few great performances. It fundamentally changed the art of acting on screen and left behind this incredible legacy of quiet intensity. To put it as simply as possible, Al Pacino took method acting, which most people saw as this niche, artsy thing for the stage, and he proved it could be a powerful, mainstream force in cinema. He made the character's internal journey the main event. The focus shifted from what people were doing to what they were thinking. And I mean, just look at the long-term impact. He basically made contained intensity the new gold standard for serious acting. He proved that all that hard internal preparation is a real source of on-screen magnetism. He established that psychological depth wasn't just good acting, it was a major competitive advantage. And through all this, he completed his own incredible transformation from a poor, unknown actor into a global icon, a name that literally means smoldering power. Now, this is an amazing story about an actor for sure, but the real power here is figuring out how this rule applies to us off-screen. How can you actually use this as a blueprint for your own influence? So let's make this actionable. First, try adopting the stillness as power mandate. The next time you're in a big meeting or a tough conversation, use strategic pauses. Don't rush to fill the silence. Just observe. Listen. Let your quiet command the space. I guarantee it will maximize the impact of what you say next. Second, implement your own version of that character deconstruction protocol. Before you start a new project, don't just think about what you're going to do. Rigorously study the why behind it. Understand the motivations, the logic. Prepare your mind before you act. And finally, just commit to finding strength in stillness. True confidence never needs to shout. So all this really leaves us with one final question.
In a world that is just screaming for our attention 24/7, where does true, lasting power really come from? Is it about being the loudest voice? Or is it something deeper, something more controlled? You know, Al Pacino built his entire legendary career on one truth: silence is a strategic weapon. The Pacino Rule is a systematic blueprint for an intensity that commands rooms not through volume, but through rigorous self-mastery. Because at the end of the day, his career proves this one unshakable rule of influence. And it applies in boardrooms and classrooms just as much as it does on a film set. And that is, the quietest person in the room often holds the greatest power.